A recent study found that Black students only represent about 18% of children in preschool programs in schools all across the country. This is from the Department of Education. But with that being said, they also are almost half of the preschool students suspended more than any others, the report said.
The reality is that millions of students of color, especially males and students with disabilities across the country, are subjected to exclusionary disciplinary practices that fracture their education, obstruct further educational and employment opportunity, and ultimately steer them, at least indirectly, into the criminal justice system.
All right. Thank you. Everybody, please have a seat. As a Black student, you are far less likely than a white student to be able to read proficiently by the time you are in 4th grade. By the time you reach high school, you're far more likely to have been suspended or expelled. And all of this translates into higher unemployment rates and poverty rates as adults.
In the past, when I was working with Coleman Advocates, I worked with high school students to work on a campaign where we were trying to get the cops out of high schools, and we actually wanted there to be counselors instead, because we felt that counselors is a better option to support students in order to do better academically in the high school, as well as to help them graduate. And we felt that if there was cops in the high schools, then that would actually send a message of trying to criminalize students and create a pipeline for them to go through the juvenile injustice system.
What we've seen on a consistent basis is that if police officers are involved, they will perform a police action. And that means arresting people. And when it's at schools, that means arresting students.
So what it is resulting in is all across the country, students being arrested for these minor infractions. And unfortunately, African Americans are getting hit by what we call extreme discipline policies at about 3.5 times than whites for often the very same offense.
I have been raising my great nephew, DeSamuel James. I've been helping to raise him since he came to stay with us. I believe he was about 4 months old. The incident where the principal called the police on him when he was a kindergartner occurred back in 2011. My mother and I were up at Dr. George Washington Carver attending a Black History function. It was during Black History Month. And on his way back to his classroom after his class had performed, he got into an altercation or something happened. I really don't know what instigated it. I do know that by the time my mother and I got upstairs, we were on campus, by the way. By the time we got upstairs, the police had already been called. The principal knew we were on campus, yet she still called the police. He's a great kid.
Something to point out just came from the White House initiative on educational excellence for African Americans, that the majority of our suspensions of elementary school children, especially Black elementary school children, are for classroom management issues. I think we forget that as educators that we are in the business of building men, especially men of color, that we are in the business of building not just women, but strong and confident women that believe what they are doing and believe that they can, especially as math teachers. If the actions that we are promoting as teachers and educators and communities are not promoting that, but are working against it, they need to change.
I actually got suspended when I started going to downtown. I guess one of my friends, he tagged in the bathroom, and I guess since I have a little, I got a past history for tagging, right away they started assumptions, saying it was either me or my cousin, just because we were Latinos and because supposedly Latinos are the only ones out here tagging and whatnot. So, they took me and my cousin into I think it was the wellness center at the time, showed us a couple of pictures, and I just told them none of that is mine. Didn't believe us, they suspended me because they didn't find a Sharpie on my cousin. They found a Sharpie on me, but it was a black Sharpie. but the taggings were in green Sharpie. But just because I had a Sharpie, they wanted to pin it on me, so I was like, oh well, you know. Then I got suspended for that day, just for that, and as I was in the office, I just kept telling the principal, like, it wasn't me. And he's like, what do you want me to do? If you want, I'll round up all the Latinos and search all their backpacks. And you know, I'll be pinned on you. I'm over here thinking, like, why you only gonna round up the Latinos? He looks at me and he's like, come on now. You know why? I'm like, nah, I really don't. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
There have been suspensions where it's been a really dumb reason. For example, one time in middle school, me and my friends stole these cupcakes. We took these cupcakes that were unattended, and the next day we came to school and they told me, my counselor told me and my friend that we were suspended. They didn't follow any procedures, did not call my mom the day before, did not tell me anything. I came to school, I went to school that day, but then they sent me home with papers for my suspension. The next day I didn't go to school. So there was that suspension over cupcakes.
Do you think you'll ever be suspended again?
I don't think I'm gonna put myself in a situation to be suspended.
Are you okay?
There are certain things where it's okay to have a mediation, or maybe it's okay to be suspended, but you know, if you're just gonna say it based on what you see and you don't know what really happened and you're not giving anyone an opportunity to explain themselves, they're just gonna feel horrible. They're not gonna wanna go to school anymore.
I got suspended because they said that I was selling weed, but I really wasn't. It's just when I was in the bathroom, I walked in the bathroom and then it was like a loud smell like marijuana. And then they was just like, well, we just gotta say that since you were the only one in here and then like it smelled like marijuana, we're just gonna have to assume that you did it, so they suspended me.
I got suspended because I had allegedly robbed somebody, and they did their whole investigation at school, and then they found out that I didn't have nothing to do with it. And a couple days later when I came back to school, I asked why I got suspended, and they just said, well, there was a lot of stuff going on and we have to suspend you. And I asked them again, like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then they were just like, well, just deal with it, it's all right. Fell behind in like 3 assignments, and that really messed up my grade in that class. And it just made me fall behind.
I've been suspended probably more than 20 times, and for some reasons I don't even know why.
In 7th grade, one day, I don't know, I went up to another girl. I heard she was saying some things about me. She was a friend that hung out with me and my other friends, and I asked her what was going on. I didn't like what I was hearing, and it wasn't too big of a deal. It was done and over with, but such a small school. When people heard that we were having this conversation, my cousin ran over and she, immediately started yelling at the other girl and saying, she didn't appreciate the disrespect to her family. So it was turned into a small fight. It lasted probably about 5 seconds. They tried hitting each other. I pushed the other girl off my cousin, and we got pulled out, pulled away from each other right away. There's a lot of staff, a lot of school staff around. They took us to the office, and of course, a few minutes later, the police showed up. When we were all charged with assault and battery, none of us were hurt. I was 12 years old, and my parents could not believe that me, being 12 years old, had already had this kind of police record. And I was sent home for 3 days. A lot of our teachers were not Latino; they were, Anglo or white, and I feel like they kind of just put us all into this little box of, Latino kids, are only going to behave one way. There's really no use in setting up these programs or setting up any kind of program to help them, because if you see, not too many of them end up graduating high school.
When young people are treated like criminals inside schools already, where they're a threat, they walk in the door, take your hat off, put that away, what are you doing? get away from there, put that down. You know, that kind of institutionalization in the school then leads to a certain level of interaction with institutions and experience with institutions outside of school, so that you walk outside and you're like, well, I already know that people see me as a threat and treat me as a threat, so maybe that's just what I am. We know that if a student is suspended, they're much more likely to be suspended again, be more disconnected from school, drop out, and end up in the justice system. So why would we continue to do that?
Restorative practices justice really focuses on recognizing that we need to address situations in a way that brings everybody who's been affected together to get at the root causes of what has happened, what the behaviors are, find out the needs of everybody who've been impacted by a particular situation, and collectively come together to determine what needs to happen to make things right moving forward. What it looks like in practice is coming together in circle with one another to both build the relationships and establish strong sense of community, and also to have those difficult conversations that we need to have when harm occurs in the school community.
I need you to believe when everybody in this room say they're here for you, that you trust us. And I need for you to fall back a little bit from that man role and taking the lead, and just be a young man and enjoy this journey to being a man. And one thing that I know so much is that you love that woman right there so much. That's your heart right there. And you would drop on a dime for that your mother. Do you understand? And I know that you carry a heavy load sometimes because you worry about her. You worry about your family. I know that. I worry for you worrying about your family. And sometimes I think you're worrying about your family is the reason why you've made some of the decisions in your life that you've made. But those decisions in life need to change because you've got a network of people. And let some of us worry about that load, but you gotta tell us. You gotta tell us.
I think the great thing about restorative practices is that it's not just a focus on students that are like at risk, right? But it changes it shifts the person who's working with whoever, their perspective on how to engage people. It's not necessarily like we need more focus on African American students, but the way that we talk to them has been ineffective. And if we have to change our attitudes and the way we approach these people, right? So the blame shifts. It's not just like they're the problem. It's like the way that I'm addressing them is the problem.
Restorative justice puts those intentional conversations in the middle of the conflict. So you get to find out how a person felt when they did what they did, or circumstances surrounding what they did, and how can we heal the person even that did the harm. Because in our community and communities all over the world, we know that hurt people usually hurt people, and people that are healed usually heal other people.
Schools should be transforming that reality in the opposite way. So when you come into school, you should know that this institution here and people in this community see you as a human being, as somebody with a set of needs, who deserves love and support and compassion, and that we believe in you and we listen to you and we care about you and what happens to you. Well, if that's the reality, then you're going to take that with you out on the street too, and you're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to get involved with those kind of things, or I'm not going to hurt other people and I'm not going to let people hurt me because people care about me.
When I got here, there were some practices already in place, and the principal who was here beforehand had started a couple of partnerships to really have like restorative practices come in, as that's been the district movement, for all the schools to have restorative practices in the school site. But he also partnered up with UCSF Hearts, so that it was more information giving for the adults and the teachers on how to understand complex trauma and the trauma that a lot of our students were experiencing, either through neighborhood violence or home violence, or just a traumatic event in their life.
Restorative practices is a way of the teacher and the student both engaging with each other. One, to talk about the conflict that may occur. Two, to come up with a solution. And three, to develop language.
It's about what happened instead of what rules were broken. It's about who was harmed rather than who broke the rules. And it's about who is responsible for repairing the harm, as opposed to how should the offender be punished.
I would say a big thing that brought us to this work with restorative justice and restorative practice is really a fact that it's about repairing communities, and that's really what the work that we do at Coleman is really about, trying to find ways to bring the community together to deal with their own problems and really create the solutions that their communities need. Going to school here in the city, being one of a small number of Black students in the classroom, and not even realizing the disservice that people are doing to you in that moment, because that's all that you know. All you know is subpar education. All you know is being disrespected by teachers. All you know is negative police interactions. And we just don't want schools to be like that anymore.
Tonight you are part of kind of this community launch of our Solutions Not Suspensions campaign, right? This is the first time we've been doing the work building up to it for some time. This is the first time that we're kind of publicly talking about it, right? So Karn is going to review, talk a little bit more about that.
Cool. So what we're basically asking, we went over this with our youth members and our adult members, and we're asking y'all if y'all stand in solidarity with us with our demands. We're gonna do this practice thing. I'm gonna read off the demands, and then can we go, oh yeah, and a clap? Can we try that one time real quick? 1, 2, 3, oh yeah! Cool, so if you agree with these, we do that, all right? One of the first demand, end the disproportionate suspensions of African American students and other students of color. Oh yeah!
We don't see the problem as being students not knowing how to act, or teachers not knowing how to teach, or principals not knowing how to be principals. The problem is the institution following the same patterns it's always followed. We've been suspending students since they've been in school, and that's just what people are used to. And what we're saying is that we have to reject that, right? The same way we don't hit students anymore in school, we don't need to suspend students.
My name's Sean McGriff. I work with 100% College Prep, and basically we was here tonight to let the school board know that we make up 20% of the population, African American males of color, but we get suspended 85% of the time for little reasons, having your pants down or wearing a hat in class. So basically we wanted to let them know that we getting suspended at higher rates than any other school district in like California. So that's basically what we're here today for. And hopefully we hope that the teachers cut us some type of slack, like on the level of like us walking inside the classroom, getting to know us personally on a personal level. So.
My name is Kevin Williams. I'm currently a paraprofessional at Balboa High School, which is just a fastest word for Teachers Aid. I also work at the Bayview Association for Youth. This was a historical event for us, primarily because 85% of African American kids are suspended because of unlawful defiance, which is basically sagging your pants or wearing your hats inside the classroom. Now, we don't want to say that, there shouldn't be repercussions for their actions, but we don't want our child to miss a whole entire day of school because of the fact that they're sagging their pants or their hats on their head. Now, what we want to do is implement new policy and find a way to come abroad and, discipline these kids in other ways. And maybe, have some PTSD programs, post-traumatic stress disorder, because most of these kids are defined because of where they grew up at and the upbringing. So our goal here is to shed light on some of the things that we see and some of the changes that we would like to have.
The young men want to be part of the solution. They're not trying to point the finger. They're not trying to do all of that. But what they're saying is, please shine the light on this, and we want to be part of the solution.
Hello, my name is Francisco Craig. I'm currently enrolled at Downtown High School, and I am a member of Youth Making a Change. I am here to speak in support of the Safe and Supportive School resolution. I've been suspended from class for just talking to a friend, and I used to always get suspended like almost every day just for talking, and with that I missed a whole bunch of class, and then I got bad grades, and then after I got bad grades I went down credits, and then I had to transfer to Downtown High School, and then since I'm down credits I won't be able to graduate on time, and at Downtown they're using restorative justice, so when you get sent out of class you get to write down what happened, and then the teacher writes down what happened, and then you talk it out with like a principal or vice principal and the teacher, and then that's how you solve your problem.
I was tired one morning and I was sleeping in class, or in the morning class before school was issued to start, and my teacher told me to wake up, and I was too tired to really know what was happening. So when she kept telling me to wake up, I had a friend with me. My friend was telling the teacher that Kylie's really tired, but I'm gonna get him up before home starts. But I guess the teacher got really irritated and mad that she kicked me out of the classroom, and I was sent to the principal's office, and the principal said that I should be suspended because I was not ready for school. So I think that should really change, because I was prepared to be at school that morning because I went there early, but I was just really tired, and I got suspended for sleeping in class. And I don't think that's the right decision because I missed the whole day of school for sleeping.
My niece, she was suspended for no reason. Teacher didn't even know why. He said that he lose his phone and blame it on her. She answered back, suspended. We are a close family. We are like this together with my sisters, and it affect the whole family because we had to help her take care of my niece while she was suspended.
We get in trouble for not having materials now, and sometimes the school doesn't provide the material.
Hi, my name is Brianna Hunter, and I'm from Chalk. Like my sister from Chalk over there said, Alex, she said she was suspended for getting beat up for being homosexual. And I also been in the same predicament where I got in a fight with multiple people, and I was the only one suspended because they assumed that I triggered the fight, which is not true. See, from a young age, Black and brown students are targeted in the classroom when they're very loud and disruptive. I come from a loud home. My father is loud, so I tend to be loud. That makes me loud in the classroom. That does not make me stupid, dumb, disruptive, or any other negative. What would I call it? Have any other negative characteristics? I'm just loud. If a teacher does not know how to deal with a loud student, they don't need to be a teacher. A teacher shouldn't be able to tell these young kids, you're disrupting my class. Just like he said, you're disrupting my class, you're rude, you're loud, you need to get out of my class. That messes with a child's head. And from that young age, when they take that to high school with them, this is where it comes in. They think suspension is fun. If I'm in first grade and you suspend me, yay, I get to go home for the day. Suspension is like a vacation, and it really gives kids the idea that it's okay, and may make them want to do things to get suspended. So you guys you got to see what you're doing here. And I'm speaking out of anger. I really wasn't even going to get up and speak, but I kind of just got mad sitting down. So please pass this. Whoever's the person in charge, please listen to us when we're speaking, because it's coming from the bottom of our heart. It means something to us. Thank you.
Tonight, students and educators rallied at the San Francisco Board of Education, calling for a cultural shift in how students with behavioral problems are treated. Hours later,
yes,
they got what they wanted. The board approved a policy that would limit suspensions. Instead of getting sent home, students who misbehave could get mandatory counseling or have to talk it out in circles with other students and teachers who have undergone special training.
Coleman Advocates is doing extraordinary work on the school to prison pipeline in San Francisco. And we were very fortunate to have the opportunity to work with them and with school board member Matt Haney to pass a groundbreaking policy. It's not only groundbreaking in California, but it's groundbreaking in the nation because it really focused on trying to stop the school to prison pipeline and ensure that young people are not pushed out of school because of punitive discipline that's really unnecessary and doesn't work.
So we had a lot of support from the beginning from the district attorney's office, from the public defender's office, who are dealing every day with the results of us pushing students away rather than supporting them inside our schoolhouse doors.
The Solutions Not Suspensions campaign, which resulted in this groundbreaking policy, is really on the forefront of the type of civil rights change that we need to see throughout the nation and throughout the state of California.